Welcome, guys. We've got Ola joining. Okay, so hopefully Ola can show you her video. So we've got everyone. Perfect. Welcome. Welcome, guys. Welcome to this panel discussion, which I'm so excited about. I would say that this is probably my best group of speakers I have managed to invite to the panel so far. I don't know, like I don't want to say the previous speakers were not so cool, but it wasn't easy for me to bring the right group together because the topic is also quite complex. And because we have some limited time, let me just jump right into introductions of you and then to the topic. So like we had really cool sessions today. I don't know if you guys were listening. I mean, we started with Cuba, but then we had some case study about how to measure brand impact, how to really put together the data to show if it really makes sense. Then we had people from Tribe showing how brands at the different growth stages use brand campaigns to fulfill their different goals. And now we have the panel where you guys will have to answer all these questions. Okay, so everyone tried to answer something, and now your job will be to answer all of the questions possible about this subject. So I'm very excited. So let me introduce you guys because I think your background is already something that could tell a lot of stories about brand and performance, but let's dive into it. So welcome. First, we've got Ola Jarośkiewicz. So Ola, you can just say it's you so people know, yeah, that's Ola. So she's an entrepreneur, she's a marketer, chief commercial officer. And from some important facts, Ola in 2011 founded her own e-commerce startup called Fun and Design, where people could actually design their own shoes online and buy them. And then she was serving as a commercial officer, head of growth at different interesting companies, where one I think is really important to mention because it was CD Projekt, this company that is behind the famous games like The Witcher and Cyberpunk. And she actually kicked off the e-commerce shop with the game-inspired merchandise inside of the company. And after that, we have actually met on one of the projects. So that's how we got together. And now actually Ola is starting another very interesting journey with another pretty untypical brand called Dictator, which is a merge of a rum and some contemporary art.
Art, yeah. A very difficult brand and innovative. That's the best intro I ever got, so thank you for that.
Then we've got another great lady, Marisha Lakhiani, a marketer, a speaker, a mentor, a coach to different startups and companies, but most of all, a chief growth officer at Mindvalley, which is an absolute love brand among personal growth enthusiasts around the world. It's the company where I used to work at some point, and I just wanted to give like a very short anecdote because when I was working there like many, many years back, the founder of the company, Vishen Lakhiani, I remember once he pointed out to this brand called Iron Man, and he said like, oh, this is such a cool brand because people actually tattoo Iron Man on their bodies. And I think by now there are people who are tattooing like Mindvalley wings on their bodies. So I think like the brand got there, and it has fans around the world, and Marisha is driving the growth of this super brand. So I'm super inspired she got to join us today. Then we've got Kuba Sobczak, who already spoke today. At the beginning of this event, he was talking about some hard evidence behind the brands and how they actually inspire brand growth. But Kuba is involved with different FMCG brands since the beginning of his career, and there were plenty interesting brands in his portfolio. One of them was Glovo, where he served as the head of growth. Recently, he's like marketing director of BLIX, which is the advertising platform for different groceries. And he also has his own blog and newsletter for marketing enthusiasts called omarketingu.pro. And finally, we've got Tomasz Nowiński, who is a founder, investor, COO, and someone that Arek actually wanted to get to our events for a while. So thank you so much, Tomek, that you that you said yes, especially that I think you are joining from San Francisco right now. So it's quite an untypical time for you, which is interesting because Ola is joining from Thailand and Marisha was supposed to join Malaysia, but I think you're in UK. So we've got a really international group. And Tomek's story is also fascinating, served with many exciting brands since the beginning of his career, among which were InPost, Groupon, Booksy. He founded Travelist, which is like a traveling marketplace, and recently leading the company called Kyte, a clean car rental platform. So you guys are just amazing, and I'm super humbled that you joined this panel today. And I'm doing these panels to learn myself, honestly. Like, I mean, I care about other people to learn something, but I usually get out from these panels with my head blowing with lots of different ideas. So usually my goal is to really get as much of practical stuff from you as much as I can. So I know that your life stories could be super inspiring, but let's try to plug them into the discussion. So we don't just focus on you guys, but we focus on the topics that we have. And the umbrella topic of today is how to get new clients for e-commerce brands in 2024. So let's zoom on the acquisition and let's incorporate into this discussion the idea of brand and sales. Sales, and behind sales, I mean all the performance, more aggressive campaigns, and how to mix these two for the optimal success. And the first question is like an open question. You guys can treat it as you want, but like if I ask you this question and you were supposed to name a maximum of 3 key tactics of strategies, then how should emerging brands in e-commerce get new clients in 2024? Maybe some volunteers to start. I see Ola is smiling. Maybe Ola knows.
Yeah, so depends on the budget, obviously, but I'm actually, because I always do something after hours, there's always some project. And basically that's the question I am considering now, what to do. And depending obviously on the budget, like I said, and on the product, I was thinking, or I'm thinking about the groups, Facebook groups, Discord groups, just to get to know your customer closer, not to spend too much money then on showing any kinds of ads. But to listen to the customer, then show yourself and see whether any interaction happens, and then think about what else we can do. So this is for me like the closest you can get to the customer online.
Okay, so you would kind of start with listening to the customers and really finding the real conversation online versus just throwing some experimental ads. Marisha, what's your take? A new brand in e-commerce going online, they want to get tons of new customers 2024. What's your advice? Where are you starting?
So my first thing is content. I would really get clear on the differentiator of your product versus the competitors and make a couple of short form content like Reels or TikToks. TikTok is a really great place to scale. Like the algorithm works so well that you can actually reach a massive audience. I know e-coms that went from $0 to $1 million in revenue in 1 year just by leveraging TikTok, no paid. So I would definitely focus on like TikTok and Reels, go short form content because the discoverability is great. And then I would put a little bit of ad budget behind that. Maybe I wouldn't put a lot of money, but like $1 a day. It could be as simple as that. It could be if you have budget for $2, $3 a day, just keep it simple. But that $1 a day allows you to reach an extra 500 people a day. So you can actually scale that pretty quickly. And then what I would also do is I would break down my ideal avatar. So for example, maybe if, for example, one of my e-com brands might have like one avatar could be a fitness junkie, one avatar could be a mom, right? So I would kind of like break down my avatar and then try to reach out to influencers and offer them like a commission on sales if they want to promote the brand. So maybe incorporate the influencers into a group. They can be your brand ambassadors, and then every time they're able to sell the brand or talk about the brand, and if they're able to deliver sales, they get a commission per sale. So this will build social proof. This will help you reach a whole new audience, and this will be on a minimal budget, and you only pay when the sale's made.
Cool. Okay, so guys, Tomasz, what's your take?
I'd agree with Marisha on, I think it's very important in the beginning to generate the perception of trust and perception of quality. So you can achieve that with great visuals, with great website that converts well and makes your product available, and also building a social proof in social media and any types of review sites that are applicable for your product. I spend a lot of time in travel, and then there's like different review sites for e-commerce. There's for products. There's there are different avenues available, but definitely then scaling in social, making sure that you have all types of influencers promoting your brand. I think it's very scalable, and you don't have to start from celebrities from the stars, but anything that generates your social proof. So any legit person that uses your product and tells about benefits of it, and builds your brand this way, but also builds the initial traction and sales. And then the third piece that Marisha also mentioned, like putting some advertising dollars into I would say physical availability in the sense that your product is just a click away from buying. So when people are searching for the brand, that people are searching for similar keywords, that the ads are just there, and then people are able to buy your product very quickly.
Cool. Kuba, something to add?
Well, yeah, actually, so my first advice would be to focus on things that have high ROI, both in financial but also operational, but also from operational perspective. So the things that are highly replicable and that create high leverage. And what Tomasz said, I think, is super important. And this is something I would start with, actually, which is making sure that I maximize all the traffic I'm redirecting towards the website or the app via maximizing conversions. So checking if I have all the all the basics, all the payment methods, all the shipping methods, if my path to the purchase is super simple and clear. That would be the first step. Then what I would probably do is running both paid ads, like, because it's replicable, you just keep optimizing, you just keep running, and probably go with the tactics that Marisha mentioned, which is TikTok and in general user-generated content. There are platforms like UseMe that you can have this content generated pretty cheap, or even do it yourself in the beginning. Yeah, and the last thing, I think what Ola said about this growth hacking, maybe tactics like Facebook groups. Guys, you have no idea what Facebook groups are there. Like, there's I can tell you from my experience, there's a Facebook group on promotions in Biedronka that has like 600K members on Facebook. Like, these numbers are crazy. So I'm sure there are groups that you can engage in, start maybe recommending your e-commerce, your business there. But this is it has little replicability, and this is highly engaging in terms of your time resources. So I would start with the ones I previously mentioned.
Cool. So moving further, okay, that's about new brands. I think for me, the new brands are super exciting because that's such a new territory, and there's always a chance of failure, which makes things even more exciting. But then there are obviously brands on different stages. Right before this panel, we had a talk by Tribe47 when they were trying to split the brands into 3 groups, like the grow-ups, like huge brands that are already well-known, those middle segment brands, and those small brands. Now, we're talking today a lot about brand building. Like, do you think it really differs on how much of the brand should be in, like how much of the brand should be built and sustained for the companies at different stages? Like what's your personal approach to it? Like you guys worked with many brands, those that are just starting out, those that are already grown up, those that are already huge. Like, what's the approach? Like, what's your key insights about how to treat the brand related advertising for brands at different stages and of different growth? Maybe let's start with Marisha, because as the head of growth at Mindvalley, like, and then helping also smaller companies to start out, I think you have like this idea, like jumping from one that is already grown up and then to the small ones. Like, how does it differ? How does the brand approach differ for small and big and middle?
Yeah, so I think it differs. And okay, so I mean, as I'm speaking from experience, because when I joined Mindvalley, we were doing like under 30 mil, and now we're doing about 200 mil. So there's like massive jumps and stages that we've gone through, right? And I think brand is the most important thing. And I'll give you an example. So recently, we launched a new line item, we launched a new product within Mindvalley. And then what I did is I did a rebrand of the product to make sure it was completely optimized. It looked stunning. It spoke to the right audience, and I invested in this rebrand, right? But what happened after I invested in the rebrand is that the conversion rate of the page went up 40%. That means there was 40% more revenue coming from that page right after the rebrand. And I can only attribute it to the rebrand, because before that, my page was still optimized. Like Mindvalley runs like a really tight ship when it comes to conversions and optimizations. So I think that there's a power in rebrand. It is a power in branding, right? Now, what happens is that a lot of brands, they neglect branding in the early stages and they focus only in the later stages. But I think that's a big mistake. I think that your brand has to evolve. Your core message should stay the same, but your brand has to evolve, because you need to speak to a more aspirational audience, right? You need to show like the future of the brand, where you're going, what are you trying to achieve? But the core should always remain the same. So you might want to refine the story as you're evolving, but you need to start branding from like day one. And it's more critical for some businesses than others. So for example, if you were selling a jewelry brand, right? Imagine you're selling a high-end jewelry brand. Why would someone come and buy from your brand, right? You really need to focus on like the story. What are the ingredients you're using? Are you using like gold? You need to do PR. You need to really establish that brand for someone to say, okay, why should I buy, for example, a husband or a boyfriend? Why should I go to your jewelry brand versus all the competitors in the market, right? So that's how the branding really elevates your brand. So start early, like PR, branding. I think it's really important, and it's what allows you to build trust and what allows you to charge more. So an example of another brand is Last Crumb. So Last Crumb is a cookie brand, but Last Crumb, what they did right is that they just didn't launch as an e-com. They actually did their branding. They got their packaging right. They got their messaging right, and they are able to charge $140 for cookies. That's the power of branding. There's a reason why Chanel is like the most valued asset. It's the fastest growing asset class because of branding. And it stood the test of time, and the value of a Chanel always appreciates. So if you really want to stay in the game long term, and if you have the money to park in it, you should focus on branding and focus on PR. And that's really going to help you sustain. And the brand will evolve over time. You will refine it as you're building the products, as your product scope increases, improves. But the core of that brand will speak louder to your target audience than just having a product, that has to cut through the noise.
Do you guys agree? Like,
yeah, I can build on that.
So much?
I would say that it depends what kind of product you are selling, what kind of company you are running. Because if you're running a marketplace, then probably marketplace brand is not that important in the beginning. It's more important for you to have like great UX, great UI, great payment system, logistics, and low prices. But if you're selling like a fashion brand, or jewelry, then the brand itself is more important, right? Than the prices and even probably than the product. So depending what you are doing, then you have to take a decision. You have to make a decision. At what stage do you invest in brand? When I was doing Funny Design, which was a shoe brand actually, where you were able to design your own shoes, the brand was everything. So we started with PR. So like Marisha said, PR is very important. And this is something that helped us to kickstart the company. And we actually, because we needed something to sound at least interesting for the journalists to start speaking to them. So we started with our own personal brands, how we ditched the corporate world and started our own company, right? But that got us, rolling at the beginning. So yeah, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, I would disagree in the sense that I think that brand is always important, and with the example of a marketplace where this is important, I can bring an example of Airbnb that always focus on brand building and brand marketing way more than what was the classic playbook of Booking.com and Expedia in the industry was that they
but remember about the
a lot of money in Google.
Remember about the product, you have private properties, right? So this is something that you don't feel secure,
yes, but,
right?
All right, yeah, but Booking.com very early tried to respond to that and tried to bring this type of inventory on the marketplace as well, and they never succeeded in getting the right share. So they were what Airbnb was focused on was getting the product right, so getting the user experience right, but also very solid focus on branding. And Brian Chesky was always super passionate about the design, about the quality of the visuals, about quality of the how inspirational travel should be, and what the competition was focusing on was more on investment in Google and buying keywords and spending a lot of money in Google, and over time it converged. So after Airbnb IPO, they invest more in sales campaigns right now, and then started spending in Google, but they still do just a fraction of what Expedia and Priceline are doing on Booking.com are doing on just the pure sales marketing. So and I think here for the brand building, why this is important, and what is important on different stages, I think that just starting from the very high quality of visuals, of photography, of the website, of messaging, of brand identity is, I think it's high ROI from the very beginning, from even early stages of startup, just investing in high quality brand assets just goes a very long way. Then creates a foundation for the brand that scales up pretty nicely, and then the investment that is needed when you grow is more in the brand communication. So more in the more and more going up the funnel and addressing mid funnel and awareness type of campaigns when you have the budget for it. But starting early on from the foundations of the brand, meaning that having a solid strategy, the brand execution, brand identity, the tone of voice, and all this kind of stuff, it creates a very solid foundation that gets you to higher conversion rates, that enables you scaling way more quickly.
Kuba, anything to add on top? Are you Olas or Marisha?
I'm with Marisha actually on this, and I have two pieces of evidence. One is I don't remember the source, but there was this research about how big brands generate higher ROI from advertising. And actually, there was one piece of research that I have on my blog, which was the analysis. I think it was published on warc.com, which is how ROI of similar sales activations of various brands on Amazon varies depending on the brand awareness level. And of course, bigger brands generated better ROI from similar activities. So my take on this is that you are screwed on advertising ROI when you are a small brand. So even though you don't have to do brand marketing to grow when you are small, you better start as soon as possible because it is worth to do it.
Yeah, but I mean, just not to leave you all alone, I think there are marketplaces that started and did pretty well without investing much in the brand, but probably with time, there could be an element of of the win, right? But we're gonna be circling around that. So you guys will have lots of options to disagree. And actually, I love when you disagree. That's the idea of a panel. You guys should fight here, that would be the best.
I was trying. I think you guys forget that we are talking about establishing new e-commerce that has to grow fast. And you want them to do not only sales, but also brand. I mean, you have to decide. You cannot do everything at the beginning because you don't have people, you don't have money. You have to decide what to do first. Because I totally agree that brand is everything. And if you have a brand, you can put a bigger price tag, so on and so forth. But at the beginning, if you don't have to put money in the brand, don't do it. Obviously, you have to put money in creating your logo and visuals and stuff, but that's different to creating brand campaigns, right? If you are a fashion brand, for example, you have to do it because there is nothing there, right? Either you have a brand or no, but otherwise, I mean, in marketplace, like Ewa said, I think you can start without that. You have to choose.
But let's now actually focus on this practicality, because you guys already touched upon it with the first question that I asked, but now you guys are touching upon it as well. But I think this is very essential for people who are listening, also for myself. It's like, when we're talking about building a brand, like, what do we mean in particular? Which activities fall into that, right? You guys already mentioned that this could be a more focus on the design, right? But I want to get more juice from you, like some examples. What does it mean that you actually focused on the brand? Maybe Marisha, you can add, like you already gave some good examples. So for example, pricing your product higher, or your rebranding example from the Mindvalley. But do you have any other practical example where, building a brand, like which activities are and which are not?
Yeah, so everyone can add to this, because this is probably not the most extensive list, but just off the top of my head, definitely building the brand story, because this day and age, where we are right now in marketing, storytelling is everything. And if you don't know how to tell a good story, you're not going to be able to capture attention. So I think the brand story is very, very valuable. USPs, to understanding how you are differentiating your product from the other products in the industry. Why should someone buy your sunglasses? What's so special? Why should someone buy your jewelry? So what are you offering that's different from what everyone else is doing? Second, I think would be, will be what everyone's talking about, right? Which is like the brand identity. So like the logo, the font, the creative elements, the assets. Because to be honest, think about buying media as well. If you're already buying media, it will drive your cost down if there's brand recall, if someone can recognize your brand. If not, again, everyone's gonna not even be able to know like which brand is this. Like they might see the ad twice. It's gonna take multiple touch points. It's already, the amount of touch points you need to make with your customer in order to make a sale has already grown from like 7 to now 11, 12. So, and it's going to grow to 15. So if you're having that brand consistency, you're just going to be able to like convert them a lot faster, right? So it's going to be optimizing your cost. Product experience, that's huge on branding, like delivering a great experience. That means your website's optimized, mobile friendly, like the basic things, just to make sure you're giving a good experience. So if you're selling a product, people are enjoying buying from you. They enjoy like being on your website. They enjoy even unboxing your product, all of those things. And then I think part of the brand should also involve a bit of community. So when I say community, I don't mean like you're building a community like Mindvalley. I mean you're having a dialogue with your customer. So that means you're not just throwing material at your customer, but you're actually listening to them, you're building for them, you're building with them. So I'm sure everyone has more to add, but just this is like the first few things I can think of.
Tomasz?
I can think of the example of the company called Casa that I work for, led marketing, and it's when I started, it was just an operator of Airbnb apartments across the 40 cities in the US at a few thousand units, and was trading most of their rooms on Airbnb, and they had very weak brand identity, brand awareness, and most of the sales were coming from Airbnb. And what we started doing is like we we did the exercise with what Marisha just walked us through, like from brand identity, brand story, foundations, and putting them all in the very high quality imagery and messaging on our website, and also harvesting all the reviews that they were across the internet, and putting them on the website, putting them in the social media, working with some influencers to generate user content, pumping up our social profiles to generate trust, and not to have like crazy reach, but to have like decent size of following and high quality of content that demonstrates how people use our brand. And step by step, like all these exercises, and so very high quality branding being available in the lower funnel, so all the lower funnel advertising that we started doing directly, and social proof and high quality of the trust building elements on the website led to quadrupling, so going from 10% to more than 40% of direct sales. And this was a very like good achievement that we were able to, like, just from doing pure sales, we switched to doing branding and to building the distinguished brand and having a way bigger share of the pie.
Cool. Any other cool ideas, like Ola, Kuba, like something you want to add about what is this brand building?
I think the cool example of that can be of another activity, like your partners can be displayed, which next year will be 10 years old, but they actually become well-known company after they started cooperating with other brands. So they produce metal posters, very high quality, great product. And they invested a lot of money into Facebook ads. They were actually like the biggest spender in meta ads in Poland. But at some point, they started cooperating with Netflix, CD Projekt. So they were doing posters with arts on licenses with other companies, and that kickstarted like the huge volumes of sales. So the environment of brands, your partnerships, also shows what kind of a brand you are, and that can help a lot.
That's a really cool growth hacking idea, to actually approach a brand
on someone else's shoulders, right?
I'm taking a note of this one. And Kuba?
So my take on that is, again, evidence-based. So what I would start with is understanding the category. So category entry points, which is the moment, situations where you think about when you think about the purchase, the need. So it's actually a bit of, and then positioning via those need states. So you're not actually looking for USPs and differentiation here. I don't agree with Marisha. I think it's if you want to go big, you need to understand the biggest category entry points and build distinctive communication around them. Like build distinctive brand story, build distinctive brand assets, and just being super consequent in communicating them. Yeah. So this is something I would start with.
And do you guys think there are, do you think, obviously, we've got so many different channels that could be tackled when we're talking about e-commerce, but do you think there are some channels that are super important for the brand side and there are some channels that are less important? And does the offline channel play a role? Kuba already touched upon the TV ads for the e-commerce brand in his short presentation on evidence at the beginning, and you were showing like some really particular data showing that actually that TV strengthened the results of the mobile app downloads. So it was very interesting. But not every brand has a chance to do this kind of research, and we know everything is a little bit specific to the case. So I want to hear you out, guys, like which channels are the most important for the brand building, which are the most questionable, and which are maybe the least important nowadays. And maybe this time let's start with Tomek. I know that right now you're actually building a new brand, so maybe you have some
Sure.
some like super...
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that the challenge I have is like US market is so big and it's super expensive to do like advertising that has decent reach. So this is the main challenge I'm facing, and also with our service, we are with Kyte, we are present right now in 12 biggest US cities, but it's not a perfect coverage, right? So if you do any type of like nationwide communication, then it has a lot of churn and it's not super efficient. So we are here trying to choose a medium mix that is efficient in this situation. And what we are doing in terms of brand building is focused. YouTube advertising is a lot of social proof. So reaching out to various kind of influencers to test our product. And we are also there's a lot of opportunity with the customer we are talking to is mostly from highest densely populated metros and with high income and rather busy with in the age group of like 25 to 40. So we see a quite big affinity with podcasts, and so we use quite a lot of podcast host read ads that are also geo-targeted. So we are looking for specific podcasts that have high viewership, high audience in the metros that we are present in. So this is our current mix. And in the past, I was, when I was in Poland building Travelist, I saw like big impact of TV advertising, and you can also these days you can buy a lot and kind of performance based, so not something that gives you like prime time in the TV, but it's rather what people see on the TV when the TV is running in the background and they're on the second screen usually, and that gives them a reminder, gives them also kind of a social proof, like if something is it still works. Something is on the TV. It has like it's kind of a more of a legit brand than just the TikTok or Meta advertising. So this is something that I think it's worth considering.
Cool. And I don't know, maybe Ola?
Don't behave like in school. You're like a teacher. Now you.
I'm the master.
That is true. You know what? That got me thinking, because I totally agree with Tomek that if you go outside of internet, that builds you more credibility. So brands that are visible on billboards or in TV seem to be more credible because, I don't know, we think probably that they spend way more on that advertising, so they have money, so they're more credible. But I have to say that I would start thinking about whether my credibility should be built by a celebrity or by real people. And this is actually not an easy question because it's different in different cultures. I don't know if you know that, but in Europe, we usually look up to celebrities. So when we had game shows in TV, I don't know if you remember, like Fort Boyard. We have a different approach to show those game shows. So in Europe, celebrities show you the direction, what you should buy, how you should dress. But then you want to see real people, what they do. And for example, in Asia, like Japan or Korea, you have real people in TV, and then in Fort Boyard, you'll have celebrities. So you want to see celebrities and real people in different scenarios, and you treat them differently. So I would start with that. I mean, whether I should, to build credibility, does my brand fit more to like celebrity type? I need a celebrity to build a credibility for my brand, and TV and billboards, or can I make it through social proof, through showing how my product works, what the branding should look like? I don't know if you get that difference.
it can depend really on the persona and also the buyer persona and the type of a product, right? And how aspirational it's be and how practical it's supposed to be. Do you guys have anything to add in terms of
I can add a few cents. So first of all, being a disruptor always helps. Like it gets you a lot of free PR. Like you know, if you recall beginnings of Uber, for example, did they advertise heavily? No. Obviously, they practically set up a new category, and thanks to that, they got a lot of PR, free PR. But of course, it's a very chance you do that. So first of all, I would like building on what Tomek said. I would consider high attention channels to build awareness. Like they are better because of the attention span they are generating for that. I mean, YouTube non-skippable formats are good, but here production costs can be a little bit tricky. So I would maybe consider user-generated content again, or influencer-generated content. Although the drawback is that you don't own the messaging, which can be important. You don't own fully the messaging, so which can be important for a small brand that doesn't have this distinctive brand assets built yet. So so this is probably what I would consider, because I'm pretty aware that that with TV you have high entry barriers, obviously.
Yeah, TV
and that was sorry to interrupt. That was a great idea, a great example with Uber, because then you have a group of people that think that hack reality, right? So it's better to have a social proof and recommendation from your friends than from TV, right?
Yeah.
Perfect scenario.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just reminded myself also like about one tactic that I used to, when we were building Travelist, we were very tactical and just booking advertising and like established like TV brands or newspaper brands, and then using their logos on landing pages to just show like the bar of like as known from TV or as known from these TV channels or press. And this was like a trust builder that raised the conversion on the landing pages. And this is like a good example of how branding just can drive your sales performance.
Yeah, branding of others. Sneaky
Yeah,
tech.
exactly.
Okay, but now let's get a little bit to the measurement part and some sort of a match with the sales campaigns. Now, obviously, like you do all these brand efforts to finally get the new customers. Now, how do you actually what's your way of figuring out if the job you have done or the company you're working with have done in terms of brand is effective or not? Like, how do you measure the effectiveness? Like, what's your way of doing it? Because obviously there could be plenty of the ways. Kuba spoke about something, then we had today a presentation by Sublime, how they showed the actual very, very data-driven model of how they're trying to ditch GA4 and other platforms to build their own first-party data attribution to measure the effectiveness of brand campaigns on different channels. They're halfway through to be very successful with that. So what's your way? Like, obviously, there's going to be a bit of a sense and a bit of intuition. So how do you do it? How do you see if the brand campaign is effective? Yeah, go guys. I now I feel ashamed pointing because Ola already told me.
I can talk. So what we are doing is a lot of testing. So we do city by city deployments and do brand lift studies. And so for example, we recently did a brand campaign on YouTube, and we paired Boston and Denver with DC and Chicago. That are like these two pairs are like similar size of metros, and we run the brand campaign in one pair, and we then run in the other, and we compared the the lift in conversion and lift in awareness and searches and like all the metrics across the sales funnel between those two, and then trying to attribute, okay, how did this budget actually make sense, and like what is the optimal level of the budget. And I think that the generally in this brand awareness budgets, like it's worth it. It's worth testing and to know exactly what is sufficient and what not so much. But with some of the foundations, so like investing in the good brand execution and the brand photography, messaging, and so on, I believe that this has to be done like with a decent quality, and the higher the better in the very beginning. And I don't think it's like makes sense to like spend much time on like, is it worth it or not? It's like very high ROI usually.
Okay, other ideas?
So obvious answer is, of course, awareness measurement, but it can be costly. Although if you're not doing it with the big players like Ipsos, you can find some companies that, for example, are doing. I found one in Poland that is doing daily moving average of your awareness metrics, which is crazy good for marketing mix modeling. I mean, that's something I'm going to try soon. Then share of downloads, using sources like data, AI, or I don't know, Uptweak. Organic installs that was mentioned in one of the presentations today. And actually, I wanted to thank Tomek for inspiration for geo experiment for awareness, because I haven't thought about it with regards to awareness campaigns. I've used it for performance, but actually, if you're using channels like YouTube for awareness without TV, you can do the geo experiments here as well. So yeah, thanks.
Ladies? No measuring of brand.
I can go. I think it really depends like what the exercise is and what is the goal, right? So you can run a bunch of A/B tests, but you can also just measure the impact on like reach, sessions, revenue, like search, like how many times your brand has been searched, search volumes increased. So I think those are pretty much the metrics. But again, if you really want to consolidate it, like Tomasz said, it's better to A/B test and kind of consolidate and see like what is the initiative. Maybe it's on a page, maybe it's on your ads, and then see what is the impact on that channel or on that page, right? So that's the only way you can actually know the monetary impact. But otherwise, it's like so vast, because I think brand has such a massive halo effect that it actually enhances your marketing across channels. So to measure that across the board, you would probably need to do a brand lift study.
Yeah. And then there comes the second point of the discussion, right? So the direct sales campaigns. So for all the brands, like we're talking here about e-commerce. So the purpose of e-commerce is to sell in the end. There should be the transaction, first transaction, probably the second, and so on. In majority of the brands that we work with, we actually look for the repetition. Which is not always obvious, but I think those that we work with, at least in this group, is mostly about repeating the purchase. So now, how does, like in the cases that you work with, like how do you merge the brand with the direct campaigns? Like obviously we talk about remarketing the audiences built by the brand campaigns, but maybe there's some other unobvious ways that that is in your head on how these two worlds actually merge together. So what's your ideas about it? Like from brand to direct sales, like how do these two worlds merge? Let's start. I will be pointing out. It goes faster and you guys feel then more pressure. So let's start with Ola, go. I'm going to point.
I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm curious what you will guys say.
Come on, Marisha.
And so how does the world merge, right? So I guess like the key differentiators between both are like, okay, the objectives of the campaign. So obviously for brand and conversions, the objectives are very different, right? And then usually the messaging will change. So usually for brand, you're talking more about aspirations, the goals, the missions, differentiators. If you're talking about like performance or, you know, conversions, you're talking about like limited time offer, buy now, price, you know, limit, you know, like a limited edition, things like that, using a lot of scarcity, right? Also targeting audiences. So if you're doing brand, you want to go wide, you want to go like worldwide, broad, you want to attract as many people as possible. And then if you're doing conversions, you want to actually retarget the people that saw the first ad into buying later, right? But I feel like right now, with a lot of the ad I'm speaking of ad platforms specifically, there's AI solutions, right? So for example, Google has PMax, Meta has ASE. And right now with both, what they're doing is they're allowing advertisers or brands to kind of combine everything into one. So you basically have all the creatives. You can create as many amount of creatives as possible. You can write as many amount of copy as possible. Just dump it in, and the platform decides who to target, how to target, and what to do, right? So right now, what's happening is that the kind of content is being blended, and it's the creative that's doing the targeting. So you can actually do like all types of creatives are working. So you can story tell and then announce a product. You can do so many different things because a lot of the effort and pressure is now coming on the creatives to do something different, not be traditional and separate brand versus conversion. It's now about how can you hook someone in the first 3 seconds, get them to watch, deliver value, and then offer them something they can't refuse. So I think right now with the blend, it's again, I would come back to storytelling. It's the person that can get the attention and convert the customer is going to be the person that can tell the best story.
And it can happen in one ad.
Yes.
You're really good.
Yeah.
And Tomasz, what's your idea about blending the brand and the performance?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, first, like performance, I think making sure that your platform is ready for receiving customers and also retaining them, so that people can sign up to the newsletter, that they have like some incentive to do it. Then once they do, that you have like automated programs across email, push, and app advertising to make sure that the person is onboarded and led to conversion. And so once you have that in place, then and running a brand campaign that would generate some traffic, then you're capturing this traffic well and converting into users. So that's, you know, that's how these two worlds merge for me.
Cool. Kuba?
So I would say you need both for sure. And like I was showing today also the evidence that the higher awareness you have, so the higher awareness you build, the easier the conversion is and the cheaper the conversion is. So yeah, there's strong evidence that by merging them, you are generating better ROI. So for me it's pretty obvious. The good practice is that to have some kind of a link. So if you're doing the performance ads, like don't do, you know, the whole rainbow of colors and no branding, but try to have some branding there, some kind of coherence there as well, so that you have this link with the mental structures you have built with the brand awareness campaigns.
Cool. I mean, we have started a bit later, but I hope you guys can still spend another just 10 minutes with me, because I have 2 more questions and I want to sum up. And one question that I have right now is about what are the cool brands, like some examples of brands that you think are really good at combining the branding and the performance. So something that people can really look up to, like brands that you think they should follow for inspiration and and cool examples on how to do it. What's your takes? What are you following? Who are you following? Tomasz?
Oh boy, yeah. There's it's kind of hard to point, but I like the ones that are kind of proven. So like the ones from the past, like from a few years ago. And so the good campaign that I saw in the US was, for example, from Peloton, from like the fitness brand, where they were building not only like the fitness equipment, but also like paired it with subscription, and the product itself was pretty innovative. It was like first true connected like fitness equipment, and they built a great brand around it, and the communication around across pretty much all the channels. And so again, when you track it, like how it did grow, it was pretty impressive and created a dent in the market that was like pretty saturated in the beginning.
Oh, Marisha, some of your takes. You already mentioned this crazy cookie brand, but maybe there's something more that you have in mind where people should look up to. I think somehow I lost Marisha.
I think she's off camera. I'm not sure if she's there anymore.
That works. Okay, let's go with Ola. Ola, any brands that you like that you would mention?
Yeah, I personally like Warby Parker and Zalando. So Warby Parker is a glasses brand, and they started with innovative product. You could have try on online the glasses, then you've ordered them to your home. You could try them on in real life, send them back, and so on and so forth. So they started with innovation and good prices, and now they're closer to fashion and still low prices. And I mean, they're a very cool brand. They do a lot of innovative cooperations. So nice to look at what they do. And the second brand, as I said, Zalando, because they started as a marketplace, but nowadays they do a lot of stuff for the brands, with the brands. So they've noticed that there's a niche. Actually, there was a trend for it in Poland, Polish new designers, how to create big brands out of, those new small brands and earn on that. So Zalando is doing a lot of stuff to help those brands, and in that way earning money and promoting itself. So it's really, I think, innovative as well. So thinking outside of performance marketing and standard media through, let's call it CSR.
Cool. And Kuba, any cool ideas, any cool brands to follow?
So I had also Zalando in mind, but I mean, I like how they are connecting the brand campaigns and the performance campaigns. I mean, they are super coherent. I don't fully get the messaging itself. Like, to me, it's a bit over, like it's a form over the content. Like, I don't know if it's a proverb in English, but there's like I don't fully get where they're coming from with that. It is distinctive though, because I remember it. So. Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, when I think about connecting brand and performance.
And like, do you guys have any story where you were experiencing or participating in a project where the brand building effort was a failure? So someone like really did it badly and it didn't really bring results. You don't have to mention the name of a brand so they don't get offended, but maybe some example that also gives a point.
I have a good one from a very big brand. I can name it. It was Pepsi. It's not like it's more about campaign than brand building as the effort as a whole. So there, I would say there are two very fundamental things about the brand ads. Ads oriented for brand building, which is you need to generate ad recall and brand recall. Yeah. So the audience needs to remember the ad and remember that it was the ad of a given brand. Yeah. Because how often you can recall situations where someone says, oh, that was an amazing ad, but I don't remember what was it of. Yeah, so that was exactly the case. They used the amazing, uplifting track of right here, right now. I think it's from Fatboy Slim, for the ad. So the ad recall was through the roof, but the brand recall was super poor because it had no connection with the product. And in the end, there's this metric, short-term sales likelihood in the ads when you test them, and it was 3 out of 100. And wow. It was, and 100 is maximum, of course. So yeah, people remember the ad, but didn't remember the brand. So this is something, I think it's a very important point that we didn't make today, that maybe it's obvious, but branding in awareness, emotional advertising is super, super, super important. Like, don't forget about the brand.
We got Marisha, who just texted me that she just lost a connection, and I know that Tomek has to jump out in a minute. So, I mean, Tomek, if you need to go, like, you can. I will be just summarizing for people who are watching. Like, it's a shame we can't stay here for like 2 hours and talk about it, because this topic is just so wide. Like, we could actually talk about brand and sales campaigns forever, because, you know, there's never one answer on how to do it, what to do. I'm glad that you guys gave some good examples, and just summarizing it all. I will always try in the end of this panel to summarize what you guys said. So starting from the beginning, we were talking about importance of brand for the very new brands. And you guys had a little bit of disagreement here. Maybe Ola was a little bit lonely on her side of saying that for some brands, maybe branding from the very beginning might not be as essential as for others. But in general, you guys all agreed that branding is important from the start. We've got evidence showing that it can actually it can actually grow the ROI long-term for the companies that start doing it. But there was a point of making it maybe more or less impactful, depending on the category. So of course, in fashion, you have to press more. If you're a marketplace, maybe there's a question mark on how early you should invest in your brand. Then we actually spoke about some practicality. You guys gave some really cool ideas on what could be different activities that could build a brand. You guys were quite agreeable about consistency of the brand message. We spoke about the brand recall and the fact that if your ads, if your materials are consistent, you're helping yourself out, because the customers will actually know that this is coming from the same entity. And that's very important, because probably they will have to see you about 11 times and soon 15 times before they actually purchase your product. And then there's some hacks. Like, you guys gave some good hacks. Like, Marisha was talking about the TikTok and how it helps the fresh brands to actually establish themselves. You guys were talking about power of groups and communities, where you can actually dive and check where are the customers that can buy a very new thing. But you were also talking about, for example, using other brands that are already established to build the new brand. So we gave an example of Display. Then Tomek was also giving an example of Travelist, how they use brands that they somehow partner with to elevate the brand. There was a discussion about the influencers and celebrities versus the normal people, and how this can actually elevate the brand. And we know that brand is about emotions, so showing real people and the stories behind it, it's really about how you can build a brand. So brand is about generating the stories, and you should decide which story is meaningful for your brand based on their persona, identity, etc. You guys also said that actually doing this exercise of going through the identity, persona, market, etc. is important, that that's the activity you should take in order to build a brand. And finally, I didn't have enough time to dig into it, but we at least touched that point about how to merge performance campaigns and brand. And Marisha was talking about how advertising right now focuses on the creative. So you should create different types of creatives that serve different purposes, or even a creative that serves both, but the algorithm will help you out to actually reach the people at the right stage. And Tomek was talking about preparing your system, and you guys actually mentioned it in the beginning that you should create a good website or an app that allows for a quick purchase. If you don't have it, it's going to be very difficult at the beginning, but also it's going to be difficult to elevate the results from the brand building. So that was, I think, the most important. And thank you. Thank you, everyone who's watching us. Thank you for the panelists.